Hello again. My name is Teresa Temwekandanga, the host of Insight on Zodiac. This particular sitting of Parliament has been rough for the opposition. Most bills proposed by the opposition side have been turned down by the government side. This particular sitting also saw some 2 members from the opposition side being arrested while Parliament was meeting. We sought an opportunity to speak to the leader of opposition and leader of the Malawi Congress Party. A proper interview was not possible, but we caught up with him. So my guest today is Dr. Lazarus Chakwera, the leader of opposition who sits right here in Parliament. Honorable, I'm Teresa Ndanga from Zodiak.
Yes.
Just a minute, I wanted to talk to you.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're just coming out of Parliament where a bill has been shot down to have SCB be more independent.
Yeah.
Will you just give us your reaction?
It is a sad day for this nation because for once we thought Malawians would be the winners, and we've been denied that.
What happens next now? Are you defeated?
No, we're not. We must fight on. If one battle is lost, the war is not lost. You can see that there is a whole lot of changing of the minds on the part of those who campaigned on this very issue and now behaving like chameleons. They are wanting the world to believe that they are serious about fighting corruption. We think this is a sad development.
What's your strategy then?
We will continue to bring up other legislation in accordance with the powers that the Constitution gives us as members of the opposition. And private member bills are part of the Constitution. It is not true that only the executive can bring legislation. They are, in fact, they have been sitting on pieces of legislation that the law commission went around this country consulting on, and they do not want to bring it because they are afraid that the law will come after them. But the long arm of the law will still come after them. It is not true that as a nation we should be telling Malawians, this is what we will do, you vote for us, and then when we are voted in, we decide to do different. The reforms that they have been championing have actually said that this is part of what they will do. And then to come back today and say, we are not ready to do that. This country is not ready to fight corruption.
I would more exclusively, Honorable, I would want to ask, Parliament is going to a close now. What's your assessment of this sitting?
You ask me tomorrow, and then we will be able to tell you our general feeling about the whole sitting.
Would you, however, still point out some of the things that you think went well in this sitting and those that didn't?
Well, at this stage, I'm saying I need to get my mind collected. But this is a meeting that has seen one of us depart. This is a meeting that has seen some of these issues, like we've been talking about today, seemingly defeated. But we are saying what seems to be working against us is working for us, because we are speaking and standing in behalf of poor Malawians who are languishing because those in power decide to deliberately rob Malawians of their fortune that could make their lives better by stealing from government coffers.
It seems like as if the opposition has not had a good time. It was rough for you, so to say. I mean, some opposition members of Parliament were arrested during this sitting.
It is going to be rough, and it is going to be rougher. But we are made of stainless steel. We are not going to give up. We will continue to fight for the poor Malawian. Kumsanje kuja kaya nkukaka meme kuchitipa kaya nkulikoma kaya nkwatu wa malembo. We will continue to fight.
There were fears from some of the opposition members of Parliament, Dr. Kabwira and some of them, that they have to appear in court soon after the Parliament closes. And there were fears that maybe they'll be taken back into cells again. What would you say as leader of the MC?
We would not be surprised because this government does not want to abide by the law.
I would still want to find out. You raised a question that went to the president just a few days ago.
Yes.
And yesterday, the president had delegated a cabinet minister to come and respond to you, and you refused that. And I wanted to find out from you, why exactly, when the president had provided the answers through a cabinet minister?
The constitutional provision makes it a possibility that the president should interact with members of parliament in a constructive way so that we are able to question him and follow up on those questions with other issues that he only can respond to. Now, if a minister is given that, follow-up questions he would not take because we wanted to have dialogue. Now, if he's not ready for that, which is provided for in our Constitution, and he wants us to do that later, I say I'm willing to wait because we have always interacted with ministers. And this is an opportunity that the president has missed in order for him to be able to explain to Malawians, not on a political podium, but in the legislature, which makes him, as well as the cabinet, a member of.
Would you go if the president gave you an audience, for instance, and to talk about the specific question that you raised?
Listen, this is an official constitutional way of handling issues, not as meeting on a street and trying to spar off there. People have accused us of not being able to offer alternative solutions.
Exactly.
We must be able to talk and within the confines provided for by the law, not in a corridor someplace.
Yeah.
No.
You raised that. Exactly. Just two questions. You raised that some people have accused the opposition of not providing alternatives.
Because he's not been listening. We have spoken in Parliament. Every one of my speeches, we have spoken even outside of Parliament whenever we've held press conferences. We have offered solutions. If policies are not working and Malawians are languishing, those policies are not working. Now, if they insist on following those policies, which policies are not working, what is the use of us shouting on top of our voices?
But you're speaking for Malawians.
Exactly. So we'll continue to speak and we'll continue to get hoarse in our voices because we will fight for the Malawian. But if those who are leading refuse to lead, what do you expect?
Honorable, one final question. Are you confident you will take the MCP to 2019 as strong as it is?
Extremely confident. Nothing is going to derail us.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So while on Thursday, a day before the second meeting of the 46th session of Parliament closed, we spoke to Dr. Lazarus Chakwera, who is MCP president and also leader of opposition. On the following day, which is on Friday, the day that the second meeting of the 46th session of Parliament actually closed, I sought to speak to Mr. Kumbo Kachali, former vice president and also a member of Parliament for Mzimba Southwest, and also member of Parliament for the People's Party. In the interview, he spoke about his views on how Parliament deliberations went, if he feels that the opposition made a mark at all in the deliberations, and we also discussed politics outside Parliament. This is what he had to say on these issues. So Parliament is rising today. What would be your assessment this particular meeting, the budget review meeting? What's your feeling about it?
Well, I would say we from the opposition side, I would say maybe we did not get what we expected. I think, Teresa, you agree with me that all of us, mainly from the opposition, we are complaining about the shortage of maize and the distribution of it. And then we were pressing for the state president to come and brief Parliament on the current situation. If you'd ask to say, why do you want the president? Because the Minister of Agriculture and officials have been saying, The challenge we have is whatever the ministers have been saying and agriculture officials have been saying, there isn't much change on the ground. People are still queuing in Adimak. So we thought this would be an opportune time for the president to avail himself and explain to the people of Malawi how far we are. And I think this would be the right forum.
Actually, you put up a question to the president on the maize scarcity in Advert, food shortage in general, and you had wanted the president to come, as you're saying. Dr. Jaguera said, no, if the president is not coming, then we're not getting the answers from the cabinet ministers. Do you agree with Dr. Jaguera's?
I think that could be the right way of doing things, because we've interacted enough with the Minister of Agriculture and his team. But you and me will agree, on the ground things are not changing. So now we needed the president himself to come in and assure the nation through parliament. It's unfortunate that the president is busy. He will not make himself available. But we wished if he had made himself available.
So who answers your question now? You didn't get the answers from the cabinet ministers. Neither is the president coming to respond to that. What's next?
That's why I'm saying it's unfortunate that we have not achieved much, those of us from opposition, because we felt this parliament would have actually spent much of their time discussing about the plight of Malawians. This is food shortage. If you go to any Adimak depot, you find that there are long queues. But if you ask government, they'll give you statistics. So the question is, do we eat statistics, or we have to look at what is on the ground? And the replies are talking about vendors. Vendors have been in Malawi since creation. So we can't run away to say because of vendors we don't have food. No. This is a government responsibility. We from opposition, we thought would give them some ideas.
If you were in government today, how would you have handled this particular crisis?
To start with planning, would have planned it, as we said earlier on, that and I said this actually in this parliament to say, instead of having trucks here in Lilongwe or maize being stocked here in Lilongwe, let this maize go to all the districts, because Adimak has got district offices. So distribution from the satellite market should originate from the districts, not from Kanengo. Because if people from Edingeni, they would want to have maize, they will communicate to Mzimba office. The Mzimba office would communicate to the regional office in Mzuzu. The regional office would communicate to their head office. Their head office now will talk to NRFA here in Lilongwe and get a truck to go to Edingeni. Are we not losing time? Yet this country embraced decentralization. Why is not government decentralizing Adimak, yet they've got district offices? I think that way would help this problem.
In general, we have seen in Parliament that most of the bills, for example, proposed from the opposition side have been shot down. Just yesterday, the ACB bill, the proposal to have review of the corruption law was shut down, despite the opposition having the numbers. What's the problem exactly?
Well, I think members of Parliament are always aligned with their own parties most of the times, and very few people would vote with their conscience. So when a bill comes, naturally, most of the MPs who are in government, they would side with government, in spite of their conscience telling them the other way around. So, but by and large, to me, the fact that a bill was introduced by an opposition member of Parliament is an achievement. And that means democracy is flourishing. So I believe one of these days, a bill will see the light of the day in this chamber brought by an opposition member of Parliament.
And some people have criticized the opposition that they have not provided as many alternatives as possible, despite being very critical of this particular government. Would you agree?
I don't agree. Maybe those are some of the opinion of the other people. But I have told you, if given an opportunity, what's your advice? Decentralize maize distribution. Is it not a solution? Cannot government take heed of that and they will see some change? So it depends on how you want to interpret it. But I believe members of opposition are trying to give the solutions, but maybe it's the manner that our colleagues are looking at those solutions.
My final topic is on politics outside Parliament. Reverend Mzomera Ngwira was just fired from the People's Party, your party, the party that you belong to, because he was advocating that you be the vice president or the acting president, so to say, the acting president in the absence of Dr. Joyce Banda. Does that bother you that Mzomera was fired from the party?
Teresa, what I can tell you is democracy in Malawi should flourish. We should start by intra-party democracy. If any person is expressing his views, let people be accommodative. But any dissenting view, you are regarded as a rebel. So in that way, it is very difficult to sustain democracy in our parties. That is why parties are not growing. So in the case of Honorable Ngwira, I think I said, and I'm repeating it, I wish there was a forum where Honorable Ngwira would have been heard and let them find an amicable solution, because firing someone is not the solution.
You've actually been accused of fueling the misunderstandings in PP right now.
Well, I have heard about that, but I am a member of People's Party. If People's Party would want to get my side of story, why don't they invite me and we'll talk about it?
Do you have a working relationship with the Uladi Musa camp?
Well, I'm not very sure if there are camps, but as a member of parliament, if I'm invited to a party caucus where Uladi Musa is leader of PP in parliament, I do attend and I respect him. 3 days ago, we were at a funeral in Mchinji. Members of parliament and leadership asked me to speak on behalf of the party. I spoke. So I believe I'm a People's Party member. I respect former President Joyce Banda as party president, and I respect Uladi Musa as an acting president.
Now that you've mentioned Joyce Banda, are you still in talking terms with her?
My discussions with the former president or any other president are always private. I can't discuss them in public.
And my final question to you. You were of the conviction that this country needed Peter Mutharika prior to the election. Do you still hold that view? Well,
I said Peter Mutharika as a presidential candidate was the best amongst them, as a presidential candidate. Now, we look at President Peter Mutharika, compare him with the rest of the president. So you don't compare President Mutharika with presidential candidates. You compare Peter Mutharika with the other president, President Kamuzubanda, President Bagiri Muluzi, President Bingo Mutharika, President Joyce Banda, and President Peter Mutharika. Then you compare. But at that time, as a presidential candidate, to me, he was a better candidate.
Is he a better president?
Well, this is for the Malayans to judge. But you and me, we have eyes to see.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Teresa.